The moment Amy Dunne's diary caught fire, I realized we'd been watching the wrong movie. This wasn't about a missing woman, it was a masterclass in psychological warfare. Gone Girl isn't just a thriller. It's one of the most accurate portrayals of narcissistic manipulation I've ever seen on screen. Today, I'm breaking down the dark psychology of Amy Dunne, from the perfect facade she builds, to the calculated revenge she executes, to the final trap she springs. And I'm warning you now, what you learn about these manipulation tactics will change how you see relationships forever.
Let's start where the film wants us to start, with Amy Elliott Dunne, the seemingly perfect wife who vanishes on her 5th wedding anniversary. But here's what most viewers miss on the first watch. Watch her face in these interview clips. That smile, the way she tilts her head, the slight vulnerability in her eyes. This is what psychologists call impression management, the deliberate control of how others perceive you. But Amy takes it to an extreme level. Every gesture, every word, every expression is calculated for maximum effect. This isn't just being polite or putting your best foot forward. This is constructing an entire false identity. In the early parts of the film, we see Amy through Nick's perspective and through these media appearances. She's cultured, beautiful, spontaneous. Remember the Sugar Snow? She's the inspiration for the amazing Amy books. She's everything anyone could want. But this perfection, it's a weapon. Here's what's really happening psychologically. People with narcissistic personality traits often create what's called a false self, an idealized version they present to the world. But unlike most of us who just try to make a good impression, narcissists need this false self to maintain their sense of superiority. Amy doesn't just want to seem perfect. She needs everyone to see her as perfect, because anything less threatens her entire self-concept. And that's the key to understanding everything that comes next. Because when Nick fails to worship this perfect image she's created, when he cheats and makes her look like a fool, that's not just betrayal to Amy. It's an attack on her very identity. Watch Nick's face here during her elaborate anniversary game. He's uncomfortable, annoyed even. He doesn't want to play. And that's the moment everything starts to unravel. Not because of what he does, but because he's failed to reflect back her perfection.
Now let's talk about the most brutally honest moment in the film, the cool girl monologue. This monologue is brilliant because it reveals Amy's true mindset. She's been performing, pretending to be the laid-back, hot, fun girl who loves everything her man loves. But listen to the contempt in her words. She doesn't just resent having to pretend. She despises the women who actually are like that. And she despises the men who fall for it. This is classic narcissistic thinking. There's an underlying belief that she's smarter than everyone else, that she sees through the game while others are just playing their pathetic parts. She's not angry that she had to pretend to be cool girl. She's angry that it worked, that Nick was stupid enough to fall for it. But here's the deeper psychology most people miss. Amy's contempt isn't really about Nick or about cool girl culture. It's about her own choice to perform that role. See, narcissists struggle with something called agency acknowledgement. They can't accept responsibility for their own choices, especially when those choices don't work out. So Amy can't say, I chose to pretend to be someone I'm not, and that was my mistake. Instead, she has to make it everyone else's fault. Nick's fault for being fooled, other women's fault for setting the standard. This inability to take responsibility becomes crucial because it's what justifies everything she's about to do. When a narcissist's false self is exposed or rejected, they experience what psychologists call narcissistic rage. This isn't normal anger. It's a white-hot fury that demands complete destruction of whoever caused the wound. And that's exactly what we're about to see. Because Amy isn't just going to leave Nick or divorce him. That would make her look like the victim, the rejected wife. No, she's going to destroy him completely. And she's going to do it in the most calculated way possible. Now we get to the part that genuinely disturbs me, not the violence, but the meticulous planning. Amy doesn't act on impulse. She architects her revenge over months, maybe years. First, the diary. Let me explain what makes this so psychologically sophisticated. She creates a false narrative of escalating abuse and fear. But notice how she includes just enough truth to make it believable. Nick's affair, their financial problems, his father's dementia. This is called anchoring to truth, embedding lies within factual elements, so the entire story seems credible. It's a technique used by con artists and, yes, by manipulative people in relationships. But what really reveals Amy's psychology is the attention to detail. She doesn't just write about being scared. She makes herself bleed to create evidence. She destroys her kitchen to stage a crime scene. She researches the exact way a crime scene should look after a struggle. This level of planning requires something beyond normal intelligence. It requires what psychologists call theory of mind, the ability to predict and manipulate how others will think and react. Amy has to anticipate how the police will interpret evidence, how the media will frame the story, how Nick will respond under pressure. And here's the chilling part. She's almost never wrong. She understands human psychology better than most therapists. She knows Nick will act guilty because he is guilty of cheating. She knows the media will turn on him because pretty white women make compelling victims. She knows his own mistakes will trap him. This is what makes Amy so terrifying. She's not just smart. She has this cold, clinical understanding of human nature with zero empathy. She can predict how people will feel without actually feeling anything herself. Psychologists distinguish between cognitive empathy and emotional empathy. Cognitive empathy is understanding how others feel. Emotional empathy is actually feeling with them. Amy has the first in abundance. The second, completely absent. Watch her face here. She's not sad or scared. She's satisfied. This is working exactly as planned. And the most disturbing detail, she's enjoying this. The control, the manipulation, watching Nick suffer, it's not just revenge. It's entertainment. This reveals something beyond narcissism. This is antisocial personality disorder territory, a complete lack of conscience about harming others. But then Amy's plan falls apart. She's robbed blind by the people she trusted at the cabins. She can't sustain her disappearance. So what does she do? She adapts. And this is where we see the full scope of her psychological capabilities. With Desi, Amy becomes a completely different person. The powerful, calculating woman vanishes. Now she's fragile, traumatized, in need of rescue. This is called mirroring, becoming whatever the other person needs you to be. Desi wants to be her savior, so she becomes helpless. He wants to believe she's always loved him, so she performs devotion. But look at her eyes. Even when she's playing the victim, there's this coldness underneath. She's already planning what comes next. Here's what most people don't understand about pathological liars. It's not that they can't tell the truth. It's that lying is their default mode because it gives them control. Truth leaves you vulnerable. Lies let you shape reality. And then comes the most calculated move of all. She doesn't just escape from Desi. She stages an elaborate false narrative where he kidnapped and assaulted her. And she had no choice but to defend herself in the most violent way possible. I'm not showing you the graphic details because they're not the point. The point is the psychology. Amy doesn't feel remorse. She feels triumph. She's just solved her problem and created the perfect victim narrative in one move. So Amy comes home, covered in Desi's blood, the returning victim. And Nick knows the truth. He knows exactly what she did. But here's the genius of Amy's final manipulation. The pregnancy, whether it's real or fake, doesn't even matter at this point. What matters is what it represents, a permanent bond. Nick can't leave without abandoning his child. He can't expose her without destroying that child's life. Look at his expression here. This is a man in a psychological prison. He can tell his sister the truth. He can tell his lawyer. But he can't tell the world because Amy has engineered a situation where exposing her means destroying himself and an innocent child. This final scene is one of the most chilling endings in modern cinema. They're playing happy couple for the cameras, but Nick's eyes are dead. He's not fighting anymore. He's accepted his fate. This is what psychologists call trauma bonding. Through cycles of extreme abuse and occasional reward, Amy has created a psychological dependency. Nick is trapped not just by circumstances, but by the psychological warfare she's waged on him. And Amy? She's won completely. She has her perfect life back. She has total control. And she's even more powerful than before because now she's also the tragic victim who survived. She's not just defeated Nick. She's rewritten reality itself. Here's what genuinely haunts me about Gone Girl. Amy Dunne is terrifying not because she's unrealistic, but because she's not. The tactics she uses, impression management, gaslighting, playing the victim, rewriting history, trauma bonding. These are real manipulation techniques used by real people. Most narcissistic manipulators aren't as extreme as Amy. They don't murder people. But the psychological patterns? The inability to accept responsibility, the rage when their ego is threatened, the calculated revenge, the victim narratives, these are all too real. The film works because David Fincher and Gillian Flynn understood something crucial. The most terrifying monsters aren't the ones with fangs and claws. They're the ones who smile while destroying you and make everyone believe you deserved it. If this analysis opened your eyes to manipulation tactics you've never noticed before, you need to subscribe to Movieverse right now. Because here's the thing, most people watch thrillers for entertainment, but I watch them to decode the dark psychology that makes them terrifying. And once you understand these patterns, you'll never watch movies or people the same way again. Next week, I'm breaking down The Girl on the Train, and I'm going to show you the difference between Amy's calculated narcissism and Rachel's self-destructive obsession. Two very different psychological disorders. Both absolutely fascinating. But here's what I need from you right now. Like and hit that subscribe button, because Movieverse is just getting started. Every week, we're going deep into the minds of cinema's most disturbing characters. And drop a comment telling me, have you ever encountered manipulation tactics like Amy's? Not murder, obviously, but the gaslighting, the victim playing, the reality warping. I will read every single comment, and your stories help shape which movies I analyze next. This is Movieverse, where we don't just watch the darkness, we understand it. I'll see you in the next breakdown.